Hi there, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
Nice to meet you over Zoom.
Oh, Zoom. Yes, it's nice to meet you.
Of course, I'm James, and I got the referral letter from your GP. And in the referral letter, your GP kept it pretty brief.
Mhm.
Essentially, it's just outlined there that at the moment, life is very stressful. You feel very overwhelmed, and there are some perhaps difficulties with some relationships. There are tensions.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's all it had there in the referral letter from the GP. Does that cover everything that's going on, or are there other things missed?
I suppose another thing I brought up with him, I don't know if it's relevant for you, but just a lot of trouble, disturbances with my sleep.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Yeah,
has
yeah.
been probably the last 6 months of being very tired, not being able to get to sleep very easily. And it's nothing I've really ever had a problem with before, but um, yeah, just probably the last 6 months I've had a lot of problems with sleep as well.
Oh, okay then. Last 6 months, there's definitely been impact on sleep,
Yeah.
and it's a case you're just not able to fall asleep. Is that right?
Not being able to fall asleep and then not feeling like I can never get enough sleep, like just being very tired when I wake up.
Okay. Okay. And that's been going on for 6 months.
Yeah, I'd say so, about that long. Yeah.
Every day.
Most days, yeah, pretty tired.
So most days is like, at least Monday to Friday kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And the weekends, just always tired.
Okay, so it is every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm not quite sure how much detail or information your GP gave, but essentially, uh, I'll just write back to him just to let him know that we've started our sessions together.
Mhm.
That'll be all I include, is that Sarah and I have now met and commenced on the plan that you've sent through.
Mhm.
And then on this plan, we have 10 sessions together. Now, we don't have to use all the 10, and we'll reflect on, I say, at the end of today's session on what we might want to do if we want to meet again next week for our second session.
Okay.
It's just an opportunity for us to think about and reflect how we would like to perhaps use the sessions, and how much time we'd like in between sessions too, weekly, fortnightly.
Okay.
And then at the end of our time together, I'll write back to the GP, letting him know how things have gone together. Again, it'll just be focused in on the core difficulty, which could be about the overwhelmed sense of anxiety or stress that you're experiencing, and perhaps the sleep as well.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we'll do as we progress is complete some measures or some surveys. So you've completed one for me already as you were waiting
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
for today's session. But those scales are just helpful to get a sense of how things are for you right now. And sometimes it can be difficult to remember that in a month's time. So we sometimes do measures at different times, the same scale, just to see how things are going for you and if things have changed across time.
Okay.
Now, with the one you filled out today, I'll score that up and I'll send you an email, which will give you some information about, what you ended up filling out there on that survey. I'll give some information in return, and feel free to email me back with that if there are any questions, or we can talk about it more in the next session.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Okay. So for the rest of today, really the focus will be on getting a sense of you, Sarah, and focusing in on kind of what really brought on these feelings of stress and anxiety that you're experiencing at the moment.
Yeah.
Before we do that, did you have any questions, or did you want to ask anything?
Um. No. No. No.
If anything were to pop up, do feel free to ask, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
And given this is on Zoom, I just want to check, is your space around you private and okay for today's session?
Yes, I'm in the house by myself today. So yeah.
Nice. And likewise here, I'm in a private space. And secondly, if our connection was to drop out, You've got my email and contact numbers there with you. But if the Zoom drops out, just try joining back on first.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work, try calling me, and I've got my phone here, and we can problem solve the situation over the phone.
Oh Lord, yes, not a worry.
A new world. Okay, great. And as we're tracking, I might just jot down a few things so I can remember them on things that you've said. Otherwise, I can lose track of all the important parts that have happened.
Yep, that makes sense. Sure.
Okay, so Sarah, where would you like to start? What brought you here?
Well, I suppose the big kind of catalyst, I suppose, was I had a conversation with my mum a couple of weeks ago, and I was just, venting to her, and she kind of suggested therapy. She kind of was like, why don't you talk to your doctor? Why don't you address this properly? And so that's like, I was like, oh, okay. So that was kind of how I got here. But the things that I was talking to mum about were like, I've just been feeling, coupled with like this, just being exhausted. I've been very tired and can't seem to catch up on that sleep. And feeling very kind of like, that feeling when you, I don't know if you know it, but like when you are really tired and then you hop into bed and you're like, oh, and then it's like your brain switches on and it's like, and this and this and this and this, and I can't kind of seem to turn it off.
Yes.
So even though I'm very tired, I can't seem to turn my head off and go to sleep. And I just feel exhausted all the time. And I have a 5-year-old little girl, Sophia. She's just started prep. And honestly, if Sophia wasn't coming into the bedroom in the morning, I'd probably, sleep till 1 or something, 1 in the afternoon or something. So that is playing on my mind as well. But feeling this kind of, and I was saying this to my mum, I just am constantly feeling on edge, like I'm about to lose it with everyone, particularly my husband, and that I have no patience. We've just started back at school. I'm a school teacher. I don't know if the doctor put that down there, but we're back at school now and we've got kids in the classroom. And even in the classroom, I feel myself having to take a beat sometimes with kids, where that's never really been a struggle for me before.
Did you say
take a beat?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. What's that? Do you mean like take a breath?
A moment, so that I'm not a yelly teacher. I don't like to have to raise my voice, but I feel like that's like my go-to, like I feel like that's what I'm about to do, is like just yell at these kids. Where I am normally I like kind of am able to have a lot of different kind of coping strategies in the classroom to manage difficult kids. And I don't have, so I need to take a beat, like just go, all right, and then address them properly so that I'm not screaming my head off at them.
Okay, so taking a beat essentially means you're kind of directing the class in some way at that point. Is that right?
Well, it's more like I'll be going, before I jump to yelling, that beat is just for myself to go.
Right. Oh, so it is a pause. It is a breath kind of thing you're taking to calm and it is. Okay, I'm with you. So taking a beat means slow the system down or slow Sarah down so I don't snap and lose it at the kids.
Yeah.
Understand. I'm sorry, I'm just wasn't familiar. I like the term. I'll use it myself.
Yeah, no, we use that a lot. Take a beat.
Okay.
To the kids, like to when they're getting very overwhelmed themselves, we'll say, take a beat, take a breath, stop, compose yourself. Now tell me the story. So yeah.
So you've been doing
I have to do that to myself.
I see. I mean, how does it work for you?
Yeah, I find it to be quite effective. But I don't normally have to do that. I don't normally have to really actively self-monitor that. Yeah.
And you've mentioned that this has happened at school a lot more than what it has ever happened before, but also outside of school. Is that right? And just at home, there's this sense that you're a bit more, the patience isn't there as it used to be. And is it the exact same feeling in both?
Yes, except that I don't take a moment with my husband. I generally will just snap at him.
Okay.
And I will yell. I've hated it. It's been a tough week, particularly last week, because Sophia just started at school. So her routine is completely different, and she's been very tired, and tired kids are hard work. She's 5 and I'm tired, and so I know I have yelled at her when I wouldn't normally. And I feel terrible about that. I just hate that. And I try very quickly to reprimand that, not reprimand, to comfort her as quickly as possible after I've been a bit mean. But with my husband, this is awful, but I don't care. I mean, I do care, but I'll tell him, can you just do it?
Okay. And that's to your husband, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, okay. To Dave. Yeah, Dave's his name. Yeah.
Okay, so there is the you have that sense of having that angst or moment, and you can manage that at school. It sounds like that requires you to be, really at your best at school, at the job, whereas at home, it just not happening, and you do let it snap or show itself, whatever that may look like. Sometimes it sounds like occasionally it would lead to yelling towards Sophia, but I mean, that's only been, how long has this been going on for, would you say?
Well, with Soph, it's only been this week. And that's also because she's very tired. So it's that as well. Because I've lucked out, touch wood. She's a gorgeous little girl, very very easy. So I know that this is going to settle with
Dave?
her. Yeah, but with Dave, I'm just I don't know. I suppose okay, for example, he's a lawyer, so he doesn't get the kind of holidays that I get. So he only had 2 weeks off over the Christmas break, and I had, a long time. and that was fine. That's perfectly fine. And Sophia and I have a lovely time and everything. But I've just started back at work after the whole muck around at the start of the year about the school dates. I don't know if you're aware, but our school dates got pushed back 2 weeks. And then we were told they're adding 2 weeks to the end of our entire year. Yeah. And then they took that away. And it's just been after 2 years of this, it was we're starting our year like this. And I was kind of telling this to Dave, I was, Sophia not starting school and me being at work and everything, about how just stressed out I was feeling, about anxious and, nervous about starting work again. And I just feel like it went in one year and out the other. And he hasn't, I'm like, I know that you've been at work this whole time, but for 1 week or 2 weeks, can you just pick up the slack a little bit until we're established more into a routine? And I just have had no patience for him. I snapping at him and then feeling like a terrible mother and a terrible wife after I do it. And just feeling like not like myself, really.
When it comes to snapping at Dave, so it has been happening this week with Sophia starting back at school and just help out, as you say, with this transition point. But they're kind of getting kind of snappy, if you will, with Dave. When how far back can you trace that? Like, did this kind of was this hanging around last year, or has it just been since Christmas? How far back are we going?
Well, I would say it's gotten particularly intense the last 3 to 4 weeks in the lead up to school starting and Sophia starting. But it wasn't, so at the end of term 4, it wasn't as bad as it is now, but it wasn't good.
Okay. So there was a noticeable shift.
Yeah, I would say.
What's been a little bit more on edge and short with each other. Is that right? Since about term 4 last year. So around November-ish last year.
Yeah, October-ish kind of. That those last weeks of the year can be very stressful. But then we had a lovely little period over Christmas. Dave had time off. I was on holidays, and it was really lovely.
Okay.
But then,
When you have the kind of when you say snap with Dave, is this happening when it does happen every day, or is this happening once a week? Like, how frequently is it occurring?
I would say at the moment, at least this week, I would say every day, every afternoon, and evening, and it's always around that kind of hectic time of dinner, bath, bed. That's when he and I will have words typically.
What does words mean? Can you give me a little example? Is that okay?
Yeah, like, well, so last night I was cleaning up after dinner and he was putting Soph in for her bath or shower, and it was like 20 questions. Where's her towel? Where's her pajamas? What's she wearing tonight? She wants you to do her hair. It's like, I'm trying. And so it was all of these. And I said, can you, and I just said to him.
Dave was asking you that.
Yeah, Dave was asking me all of these questions. Yep. And I said, can you just look after your daughter? And I just felt, I'm like, I've just finished cooking dinner. Now I'm cleaning up our dinner. Can you just do one thing?
What did he do after you said to him, can you just look after your daughter? He didn't really say much about that. He said, he was like, I just want to know where her towel is. And so I got stroppy and marched into the room and just took over. Okay. So you took over the responsibilities for Sophia at that point.
Yeah.
And Dave, what would he do then?
Oh, he kind of watched for a minute and then he left and flicked on the telly.
Okay. So it sounds guess just based on how you said it, is this what typically happens? Is this the pattern?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, Dave is a fantastic father.
Mhm.
And if I gave him all of the touch points, like if I said, can you please pack the dishwasher and do that? Like, do you want to clean up, or do you want to do bath? He would he'd be like, oh, okay, I'll do the dishwasher.
Okay.
But I'd have to be very explicit with him. And normally I don't mind doing that. Like saying, hey, and if he doesn't do a very good job of cleaning after the meal, that's fine. I'll finish up.
Okay. So is there a sense then that a lot of the arguments that you're having at the moment are practical of nature? It's kind of like there's a lot of things that you need to do in a tight time frame before bed, and so there's kind of an urgency there and pressure to get them done before bed. That you find that at the moment, the nature of the arguments are really about getting those jobs done and having to kind of guide him and not wanting to, or do the arguments extend beyond those practical aspects?
It's kind of, yes, it is that practical thing, but it's also that how can't you, I almost feel like, why can't you see me? Like, why can't you see right now that I am obviously stressed out? I am obviously like having a bit of a struggle here. And I need you to pick up your game in not just the practical things, because that's, like you said, like that's an obvious help. But just, like, can you check in on me? Can you be interested in me a little bit more? I don't like. I can't.
That makes sense.
Keep giving. Yeah.
And I'm just trying to make sense of when the snappiness occurs. With what you were mentioning there, I mean, they all sound like very stressful things to have to do. Making sure that Sophia is being looked after and cared for. And so I was curious if it extended beyond that to other parts. And it most certainly sounds like for you, it's the sense of he's not checking in with you, checking in on with what's going on for you and how you're feeling and how you're coping with being back at school, etc. That kind of is missing almost completely.
Well, like when the 2 weeks changed at the start, it was like his remark to that was, oh, that'd be right, you get more holidays. I was like, okay, cool, thank you. You know that's not why. And I am at work, might not have students, but we're at work. So that kind of feeling, like,
does it leave you feeling heard?
Yeah, it does. And like what I do isn't as important as what he does.
I see. Has he said those sorts of things before, prior to term 4 kind of thing?
Yes, but kind of, I don't know, like I suppose I could take it as a joke then. Like, always there's a lot about how much time off we get as teachers that he likes to make jokes about. Okay. Which is fine, everybody does, and I am fine with laughing about it, but I don't need it from him.
Yeah. Can I ask, when you were speaking to your mum about this, so it sounded like that was an opportunity for you to let a number of things off of your chest, as it were. What was the kind of focus of that sort of discussion? Because you mentioned that was really pivotal to getting you to talk to the GP and come along. What was the kind of nature of that conversation?
I suppose I was I was pretty teary talking to Mum. I was just feeling very, this sounds ridiculous because like we're in Brisbane, I'm not in Victoria, but feeling kind of isolated a little bit.
Yep.
And because my usual group of girlfriends that I see and hang out with, my best friend, like my closest girlfriend, she's going through all of her own drama. She has OCD,
Okay.
and it's based around germs. So with this COVID stuff,
Yeah.
I've seen her 3 times over the last, like in person, face to face, over the last 2 years.
I see.
And talking on FaceTime or doing Zoom or doing this can be exhausting as well.
Yeah,
And I don't know how to support her. And she would typically be somebody I would vent to, like, you talk to your girlfriends about your partners and everything.
yeah, your support.
Yeah, and I just haven't had that because she's not in any place to kind of take anything in.
Sure.
So also feeling like I haven't got my friends with me.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. So, I mean, that sounds terrible for your friend with what's going on there for her at the moment. So to not have that kind of source of support and also be concerned for her as well, that's a double sort of hit, really. But you had mum to kind of vent to at that point. And the nature of the kind of discussion was really about you feeling a sense of being isolated. So a sense of feeling isolated from Dave, because the sense kind of from what you were saying was he's not really tuning into how you're feeling and what you're doing. And when he did, based on what you're saying, when he does talk to you, it seems to be, well, do this or do that, or where's this, where's that. But he doesn't seem to be inquiring in about you. And then with COVID and everything, and then with what's happened to your friend, you haven't had the friend input to support you, and that's leaving you feeling a sense of isolation.
Yeah, I have felt alone and almost like you can't, because of being in Brisbane, like you can't kind of, we weren't like Victoria, we weren't locked in our houses.
Sure.
So you can't kind of, like, you're not allowed to complain about that. Okay. Even though it's happening everywhere, like this COVID stuff is happening everywhere and everybody has in some way had that sense of isolation, I think. And
it's not something I'm allowed to complain about. Is that
right?
right?
Yeah, you're not allowed to. And
is that how it feels for you?
That's how I feel, yeah. And then that makes you, like, I like being around people. And that's the thing, right? Anna, my friend with OCD, her response to COVID is, everybody leave me alone. I want no one with me ever. Yeah. And I want the opposite. It's like, I'm just craving to be with my friends, to be with my family. I miss everybody. I feel very sad about everything we've had to miss because of this.
Oh God. How does that leave you feeling then? This sense of, even with my closest friend, there's this kind of disconnection or isolation.
Well, it's hard, and because she is unwell, I feel like I can't complain. As frustrated as I am about it, and if I bring it up, like, I can't complain about it because that's out of her control. And if I bring it up with Dave, he has no kind of capacity to grasp that situation, other than, I don't know why she's so paranoid. Wear a mask, wash your hands. It's not a big deal. There's hardly any. You're not going to die from it. Like, oh my God. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And that's how I feel too. Sometimes with her, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay.
But I need to be able to have those conversations with Dave without having to defend her. I don't know. I just feel.
Oh, I see. So, even when you just want to talk to Dave in a supportive way about what's happened with Anna, there's within you this sense of, he's so dismissive of her suffering in a way that you have to then go in and sort of fight for her, if you will, on her behalf. And it's like, no, this isn't what I wanted to be connecting with you on, Dave. I wanted to be kind of you supporting me in the sense of my poor friend's suffering, isolated, I'm struggling, I need support, and you're just not tuned into that frequency at all. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
okay,
you've missed the point. You've missed that this is, it sucks what's going on with her, but I feel lonely too. I feel sad. I miss my friend.
There's a sense of you're doing a lot. You're caring for Sophia. Dave relies on you for a lot of those practical things as well. There's obviously your students in the class that need you. Your friend needs you. And you're having to take a lot of responsibility. And given that the circumstances in Brisbane that you've mentioned have been pretty good, and things generally speaking are going, it seems okay for you in terms of, don't have OCD as the comparison kind of thing. There's this sense I can't really complain about my situation, which kind of leaves you, I suppose, talking to mum.
Yeah, I suppose there's mum, and I have a friend at school who I talk to a little bit as well about different things, but mostly just mum.
I see. And did all of this happen, all of this kind of coming together for you, is that what was talked to mum about, and then what led to talking to the GP and then our time now together?
Yeah, I'd say so.
At this point, Sarah, would it be okay if I just ask you a couple of other questions? Because it seems like at the moment, there's a hell of a lot of things that you're juggling. And you're kind of making sure everyone else is cared for, yet no one seems to be really turned in towards you, caring for you. But thankfully, mum was there. Just to get more of a sense of what's going on for you at the moment, I was just curious, just a couple of other things, just about you as a person. Would it be all right at this point if I just asked a little bit more about you, just to get a better understanding of Sarah?
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, what led you to teaching? Is teaching something that you've always wanted to do? Is it your kind of profession of choice?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real vocation for me. It was a real kind of calling. I love it. I'm from a family of teachers.
Right. Okay.
The school I'm at now, I've been here 6 years, but my dad worked here for nearly 30 years. This is his school. Yeah, so a little bit of a legacy there. And yeah, no, I love my job. I love teaching. Yeah.
And how was it being at the school with your dad? It sounded like, based on what you said there, he may have I don't know, left or retired or something.
He retired. He's retired now. Look, it was great starting at a new school, because Dad and I had about 18 months crossover. And so that was really nice, like starting at a school and knowing somebody there already. And a lot of the staff knew me, like, because they'd been there for so long. They knew me when I was younger. And they're, really, really nice. Bit of a legacy to legacy. Everyone kind of often asks about him, want to know how he's going, expectations that you'll be like him. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So not necessarily a good thing then, is that right?
I suppose at the school I've been able to make more of my own way now that he's not been teaching now for the last 3 years, so that's been good. And I've been able to make more of my own space there. I suppose it's more the relationship with Dad and myself, because it's great because we have a shorthand. He knows who I'm talking about. He can give me the inside scoop on what dynamics work and things like that. But it also means I get a lot of his input, and he knows the best way to do things. And I offer, and you got to bite your tongue with him as well. Well, I have to, yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I wasn't. So it sounds like Dad is this what you're saying? He just tells you what to do, and you'd prefer him not to? Is that what you're saying? I'm just a bit confused. Sorry.
So he's a bit like that, yeah. So sometimes it's really great,
Yeah.
but when he tells me how to handle a difficult kid, or he tells me how I should approach a situation with a fellow staff member, like, all right, I just need you to listen.
Okay.
I'm not asking for you to solve my problems. And we have two very different teaching styles and in two different departments. And usually I'm very good, and maybe it's just because he's retired and I don't know, but I'm usually pretty good with him and can handle it. But lately I just have had no patience for being told how to do my job.
Okay, so yeah, there is definitely tension there then on when you talk to him about it, your work, he kind of goes into, okay, do this, 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 and this. And it's kind of like, Dad, that's not what I'm wanting. And so it's again a sense of, hey, Dad, I'm trying to get support from you, but again, you're not seeing that. You're just telling me what to do, and I am not you.
Yeah.
So that is, in a way, happening with Dave as well. He's not seeing what you need and what you want. He's not tuned into what you want, and Dad's not tuned into what you want either. With Dad, I'm not looking for you to solve my problems. I'm looking for you to be, a sense of support.
Yeah.
Like emotional support, perhaps more than sort of like solve my problems.
Definitely that emotional support. Like he gets it. He gets the long hours. He gets the extra after, the 9 to 3, the extra work that you have to do. So like I expect that we're just, I just want you to agree with me.
I see. So, I mean, teaching is definitely a sense of vocation for you. So something you're really passionate about. So something that's really important to you. And so, and then having these discussions with Dad, who has somewhat of a legacy at the school. I mean, there's a certain romance to some of that, but there's also this massive trade-off where there's a sense that he kind of still looks down at you as perhaps his daughter who needs to be told what to do. And again, similarly, David looks down at your job not being as important as his. And you're kind of, again, left somewhat isolated. Is this in terms of concern for you with Dad, with the tension, just on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like really stressed out and 1 not stressed at all, how much of your time do you find you're stressed with this issue with Dad?
With Dad?
Just to get a sense.
Probably, I would say maybe between a 5 or a 6. That it's
a moderate amount, right? This is an
yeah. So it's almost like I don't want to talk about school with him. I don't want to talk about work.
Okay. And when you go to bed at night and you say the mind sort of trips over and starts racing with thought, what are the patterns of thought that it races with? Is it about these concerns or is it about other things?
It's usually about my workload or what I've got to plan. So it's that.
Like a to-do list kind of thing.
Yeah. I'll worry about Sophia, just typical mum stuff. And then what did I say wrong today? Like how could I have handled situations better? Essentially, yeah.
Okay. Is there a kind of, when you reflect on what I could have done better. I mean, is that a pattern that you've noticed a long time, that you reflect on, these are the things that I should have done better today? Or?
Probably once again from like that 6 October-ish.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Monthly kind of time. A lot of that, I guess, guilt about how I have handled things, or that I said handled things poorly, or haven't had the patience to do things the way I normally would, and feeling very judgmental of myself about my actions or my interactions with people.
What are some of those judgments, Sarah?
Well, there's a teacher I teach with, I have a teaching partner, and he has been a really great support to me over, well, over all of COVID, really, so since 2020, but particularly in the last few months. Being able to talk to him has been really great, and sometimes I feel guilty, guilty that maybe, do we talk too much? Are we too flirty? Why do I keep thinking about you, kind of thing? And then I worry about that at night, and I think sometimes when I feel guilty about having fun with this teacher, it makes me angry. This is weird, right? Like, I might feel guilty about my relationship, like how I talk with this teacher, his name's Rob. How I talk to Rob, I'll feel guilty about it, and then I get angry quicker with Dave.
Okay. That's what you've noticed happening for you. So there's a lot of guilt that gets felt with what is happening with Rob.
Yeah.
And that spills over to you then when you're with Dave, getting angry at Dave.
Yeah, because I'm like, and I know that I shouldn't think like this, but I'll think, I wouldn't have to tell Rob I'm having a hard time. I wouldn't have to say, can you make dinner?
Okay.
And then that, I'm like, then that makes me angry. Like, then I snap at Dave, and then I feel guilty that that's even what I've thought. And then I feel bad that I got angry. Yeah.
Okay. So there is this kind of sense that when you're with Dave, you're kind of in some ways contrasting and comparing him to Rob.
Yep, and I don't want to. Like, I love Dave. I love our life. He's a fabulous husband. I know I have just said all these annoying things about him, but I love him, and we have a beautiful daughter together, and I have no desire to leave that for anyone or anything.
I see.
But I keep thinking about Rob, and I keep thinking about, I get excited to see him, or if he sends me a text, I'm excited about whatever. We don't text a lot about what might, have a little chat. And then I feel terrible.
I see. How are you feeling just bringing this up with me then?
Confused. Like, it feels really good because I think it's been playing on my mind a lot. So it's very nice to say it out loud. But I also feel like you're probably really judging me and thinking I'm a terrible wife and mother, and that I am. I just feel bad.
Is that what plays on your mind in just day to day, that if others were to know, if others found out, they're
Yeah.
going to judge me in this really negative way. What would they be judging? What would they be thinking?
That I'm throwing things away.
Sort of
That
look at
I
her throwing things away.
beg your pardon.
They'd be thinking like, look at her, she's throwing things away. Is that?
Yeah, like she has this beautiful family, and what like that I'm a bad person, that I'm cheating on my husband, that yeah, I work in a Catholic school, and like that I'm not upholding those kinds of values.
So if people were to find out about what's happened or what's happening with Rob, these are the different thoughts they'd have, that, you know, you're not holding up the values of the school. Look what you're throwing away. How could you be cheating?
Yeah.
How does this leave you feeling, Sarah?
Pretty terrible, pretty sad, and I have to, it's like, just stop, but I don't want to either.
Oh, yeah, you're saying stop to yourself there. Just stop what you're doing with Rob. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And but
You don't want to either.
but it's a, yeah, you know, it's like really nice attention. And to be like very honest, he and I at the end of last year, we had after work drinks. There was a group of us, and he and I had a little kiss. It wasn't, we haven't slept together, we haven't done anything like that. And after it happened, I regret it so much. And you know, we went on school holiday shortly after, and we hardly spoke at all. And now we're both year 9 teachers again, and we're both in the same small office again. And it's just really, I hate it, but it's exciting.
Yeah, and it certainly sounds like, at least from Rob, he's tuning in to how you're, or what you're kind of wanting as a, which is not what you've been getting for a while, it sounds like, from other important people in your life.
Yeah, he's great. He knows all the right questions to ask, you know, like interested in how things are, and always wants to see photos of Sophia, and asks about me.
Yeah, of course. And that leaves you feeling, how does it leave you feeling?
This is so dumb, but like new, like you know, like when you start dating someone for the first time, like feeling really special, but then and in the moment, that's how I feel. And then afterwards, or like even on the drive home from work, as soon as I see Soph, I like hate myself. Like I hate it.
I mean, this is very intense and significant. And that sense of, you know, I hate what I'm doing, but I don't want it to stop.
Yeah.
Must be very frustrating, like this whole kind of like just wanting to almost like scream out the frustration, but have no one to turn to really to.
Yeah, like yeah, and my head like doesn't stop.
Yeah. Same at night. Do you find you spend a lot of time then when you mention this idea of what should I have done? Is that kind of at night? Is that should have done this or shouldn't have done that? Is that about Rob and the relationship with him and Dave and what you want to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like just yeah, just that whole, I just don't know what to do about it. Then again, it just, or I'll make a decision at night and I'll be like, no, I'm going to do this tomorrow. Nothing changes.
Okay. I mean, this is not ideal, but we are running to the end of our time,
Yeah.
unfortunately, today. But we've touched on something very significant. It sounds, you mentioned what's going on at the moment between what you're doing with Rob, which ended in a kiss at the end of last year. And having a break, it seems, you said there, over the holiday period, but now being thrust into each other's daily lives again. There's a lot of perhaps unsaid things or things yet to be worked out on what's actually going on there in that relationship. Is that right? So there's a lot of unclarity, uncertainty on what's going on there and so on. Equally, is there for you uncertainty on what you'd like to do in this situation? Like you're sort of unsure as to what it is that you would like to do? Because that's certainly something we can just openly discuss in therapy. Just your chance to just be able to talk through all possibility as opposed to a certain one type of possibility.
I would really, I think I really need that.
I see.
Because I can't get it straight.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's terrible, as I said, that our timing in today's session, that if we were to start to close down our time today, but think perhaps if we were to connect again in a week's time, and in a week's time, we can kind of pick it up from this important point around how you're feeling in relation to Rob, what it is that plays on your mind, and we can think about that a little bit more and those actions and what you might want to do or not do and how that ties in with Dave and so on. We can make that relationship aspects the real central focus of next week. Would that be okay?
Yeah, I'd really like that, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, Sarah, it's been lovely getting to know you today and hearing about Sophia and also about, just how passionate you love your school teaching and your work. With that, though, has come an awful amount of stress with COVID hitting and all the different variations to how we go about teaching. Your semesters have been shifted around. A lot of things outside of your control keep getting moved, which are having direct impacts on you. And, it's as if it weren't going to have an impact when things are just shifted last minute. You're having to do all this extra planning. And then the stress of having to manage all the home stuff as well and feel unsupported and isolated. It can knock us around. And yet you seemingly are, based on what you're saying, putting everyone, your friends' needs are really important to you with Anna. You're really worried and concerned and making sure you support Sophia in the best ways you can in terms of being a mum. I mean, it's difficult to do it all, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really nice hearing that. It does feel difficult sometimes. Yeah.
And it's hard to know where to turn, where to go when we're dealing with these kinds of, life circumstances. It's not easy. Okay, well, next week we'll touch base. If anything were to come up between now and next week that you really want to make a focus of our session for next week, do feel free to drop an email there and we can make sure that becomes a focus of next week. But I'd just like to thank you for your time today, Sarah. And if it's possible, on transitioning out of here to everyday life, as it were, if you were able to take 5 minutes or so just to do something to take care of your own needs, to allow you to transition back into the responsibilities at home, whether it be, just a moment, like what did you call it? Just taking a beat for yourself. Take a beat for yourself before. That can be helpful as opposed to just going straight back into having to do everything.
Okay.
Oh, well, thank you, Sarah. And I'll send you a Zoom link for our for our session next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye.